Now, I do see a handful of familiar faces, a handful of folks that I saw 5 years ago, and I know that I opened with that story 5 years ago. And I'll tell you all the same thing I tell my own children and the same thing I say when I look in the mirror. And that is, repetition is not punishment. Repetition is the oldest and most effective form of learning and skill acquisition on the planet.
Back in 2007, I had an opportunity to work the first ever Kobe Bryant Skills Academy. And at that academy was a college counselor, a really special college counselor, but we didn't know he was special at the time because he lacked the physical stature and the resume of all of the other counselors.
The most impressive of those tells was at the end of the first workout, he tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Coach, will you rebound for me? Because I don't leave the gym until I swish 5 free throws in a row." Swish 5 free throws in a row. For any of you that have never shot a basketball, let me just tell you, that's a really high standard. See, a swish is a perfect shot. It doesn't touch the backboard, it doesn't touch the rim. It gets its name from the sound it makes by going nothing but net. And this young man was not going to leave the gym until he swished 5 in a row. Which means he could have swished 4 in a row, hit just a little bit of the rim on the 5th one. It would still go in. He'd still be 5 for 5. He'd still be mathematically perfect, but that wasn't good enough for him. He'd start over. And if memory serves, it never took him longer than 15 minutes to swish 5 in a row.
That young man was Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors, who will go down in history as the greatest shooter this game has ever seen.
And it's not by accident. It's not by luck. It's not because his dad played in the NBA. It's because he's willing to hold himself to an unparalleled standard.
And people look at him and he goes and he shoots the ball from like almost half court and he's chomping on the side of his mouthpiece and he doesn't even wait to go. He turns and smiles.
Vincenzo, corner 3, Curry, got it. 8 quick points for Curry.
And he knows, and then all of a sudden the crowd goes wild and they goes through. It's like, it looks like impossible. But where did that impossible come from? He built the myelin over and over and over again, so it's hardwired.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows exactly what did and how did he do that. This is the part that we all forget. I always tell people, when you see people who are amazing in public, they're being rewarded in public for what they've practiced massively in private.
Yes, yes.
So here's his plan. Just take 15 years in the NBA, that's all he's been there. Greatest three-point shooter in history, nobody even close if you're not familiar with the NBA. He practices 500 shots a day, every day, 7 days a week, bar none. That's
Right,
3,500 shots a week. It's 168,000 shots a month.
Right.
2.52 million shots, not forget his college career, just in his professional career, so that he can make 3,300 three-point shots and be the greatest in history. That's less than 1/10 of 1% of the time was compared to his practice.
See, it was in that moment that I finally realized that just because something's basic, it doesn't mean that it's easy. Those are not synonyms, and yet people mistakenly use those words as if they're interchangeable. Just because it's basic, it doesn't mean it's easy. If it was easy, everyone else would be doing it. But you all know we live in a world that unconsciously tells us it's okay to skip steps. Tells us we should always be looking for a shortcut or a hack. Tells us we should always be chasing what's new and what's flashy and what's shiny. But I'm here to tell you, when you do those things, you're making a huge mistake. And that's because the basics work. They always have, and they always will. And the very first step to improving your performance in any area of your life, it doesn't matter if it's personal or professional, doesn't matter if it's individual or organizational, the very first step is to admit that the basics work. But it's also having the humility to acknowledge that implementing the basics every single day is never, ever easy. So if something is important, we have to get in reps. If something that is important, we have to repeat it. If something is important, we do it every single day.